Guys, welcome to another live stream from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're going to talk about life prioritization and how it works in regards with semen retention. I'm including semen retention in every video here because that's the only thing that attracts people, but we're talking about other important things at the same time, which is, what is the end goal in mind? What are we trying to create with this life that we've got? We're trying to create joy and happiness that exponentially grows. That basically means that we want to enjoy the now, but we also want to improve the now. We want to make the now better exponentially, which means, you've got a lot of people in the world today who's basically all about it's just enjoying the now. That becomes a problem because you neglect other things that will become problems eventually, right? You want to solve a problem and solve it so that it's never a problem ever again. Because if you don't, you'll have tons of problems exponentially over time. That's ridiculous, especially when you now know what life is all about. We've got track records, we've got books, we've got life experiences, we've got history of billions of lives, which gives us the case studies that are necessary to find out that which works and that which does not work if we study enough. But it's not all about studying, it's about studying the right things, right? There's not a lot of people who focus on the purpose of life and then how to align oneself with it in order to find joy and happiness. Instead, people focus on niche things instead of understanding the depth of life, and that's what I want to help you guys do. Hey, Mysteriously Kind, what's up? So long term, we want to enjoy the now, but we want to exponentially enjoy it, which means that we've got to do the things that are necessary to solve the problems that we've got so that those problems won't be problems ever again. We want to get into flow mode, which means we won't be, hitting our heads against the wall with specific things. It'll flow. It'll naturally happen. An example of this is money, okay? Financials. If you've set up things right when it comes to financials, it doesn't have to be a problem forever. For most people, it is. Most people get a pension from the government. That's ridiculous. Like, they've literally have 40 to 50 years and then they end up needing the help of government. That's silly, right? And so instead, understanding money allows you to tap into passive income over time, because passive income takes a lot of time to set up. But once it's set up, it doesn't take 50 years to do it if you understand what you're doing. And in order to understand what you're doing, I highly recommend Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. Absolutely amazing books. And that helps you to understand how to solve that problem once and for all. What happens then? You won't be hitting your head against the wall of having a full-time job ever again once you understand this. You'll be able to set up a business and set up multiple businesses, multiple streams of income over time. Now, that doesn't take 12 to 18 months. It can, if you have a coach and all that. But even if it takes 10 years, it took 10 years. It doesn't take 50 years, if that makes sense. So we've solved that problem, so it's never again a problem. And then you've got the problem of having sex. Like, we obviously want to have sex for the rest of our lives. But the problem is that we start having sex when we're teenagers, very often, sometimes, and in our 20s. And that doesn't really solve the problem, because we're meeting women who need sex too. And because we're doing that, we're meeting people according to the women that we meet are a reflection of who we are, which means that if we meet women early on in our lives, you can know with the certainty that those women will suck compared to the women that you could have gotten if you had built up yourself and built up your finances and built up the foundation of your life. And then you could have maybe dated someone who's 5 years younger, maybe 10 years younger, and that beauty will last longer, right? And her fertility will last longer, and you will have a foundation, which means that you retain her forever, and you retain multiple women forever, meaning 3 girls in love and responsible polygyny, as I've explained in the past few videos. Instead of having sex early with the best women that I could get at that time as a teenager, you can instead fix the long-term problem of getting the best women forever, but in a way that doesn't destroy society, and that doesn't destroy the women in the short run and their long term, right? So if I'm casually sleeping around with women, that's going to not destroy me. I don't care, right? As a man, I'm saying that this is what men out there are saying. For men, they can live on no problem. Yeah, well, what's casual sex? It doesn't affect me at all. I just have sex and then I leave, and I never talk to those girls again. Yeah, but it affects those women that you leave behind, and that will affect the kids of the future and the future families of those women. And that's a problem for society, which becomes a problem for you. Like players who have sex with hundreds of women, how many families have they destroyed? Oh my gosh. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, is like, you can solve that problem once and for all by not having sex, by being voluntary celibate, by practicing semen retention, so you don't need women that early on in your life, which allows you to fix everything else, prioritization, and setting up your foundation so that you can retain the women that you do get in the future. And that will give you exponential joy and happiness. And you will have women that haven't been destroyed by players in the past because you're dating them when they're young. And you've got the foundation that makes it so that you retain those young women, even though that's the hardest game there is. How do you retain an 18-year-old? How do you retain a 19-year-old? That's tricky business, because they think completely differently than you do when you're 25, 26, 27, 28, or maybe even 30, right? So you've got to understand how that system works, and it's very wise to have established your foundation first in advance before you do that, if that makes sense. And with health, right? Set up the foundation of health, an optimal health program that you basically follow on a daily basis to have optimal health throughout your life, right? So let's go through these foundations. Let's see. Greetings, preach. All right, download a really good workout app. Fantastic, man. Happy for you. So, which stages do we go in our lives? I've said there's 5 leadership stages in our lives. You've got allow yourself to be led, lead yourself, lead others, lead women, lead kids. Very often, what I see is that guys kind of skip the allow yourself to be led part because they've had horrible childhoods where they didn't want to follow their parents. So once they grow up and they finally get out of that house because they don't want to be under the leadership of horrible parents anymore, this happens more and more. Just so you know, guys, not everyone has a loving mother and father. And they go out into the world not having been children, which means that they end up remaining children forever, right? And if they remain children forever, they skipped the allow yourself to be led stage. They skipped it. It's gone. I don't allow myself to be led. I hate to be led. I want to be free and do whatever it is that I want. Those guys end up having sucky lives because they don't study history. They tap into the masculine thing of, oh, well, I can do whatever I want by myself. I don't need to learn from other people. Right, but eventually they'll have to survive in order, and they get left behind also in terms of the most amazing women. They get to sleep around because they learned the game of having tons of women, maybe, and then they get left behind in terms of starting a family and retaining high quality women. Okay, so they've never allowed themselves to be led. Well, I figured out the woman problem. No, you didn't. Okay, you didn't manage to retain any of them, so you suck when it comes to women. Okay, I'm just giving an example. Um, they skip that stage, and then they're leading themselves, but they never learn to lead others. That's because they didn't allow themselves to be led. And they're leading women, but they're leading women prematurely, right? In a way that they can't do it long term, and they'll lose them. And then having kids, yeah, they probably could have kids, but they don't manage to lead them. Those kids grow up and look at their fathers and like, he's a loser. That's what kids these days very often do with men who sleep around, or maybe who left their mother behind, blah blah blah. Do you understand the point? So if you set up the foundation right, if your childhood sucked, it's critical that you enter the standpoint of allowing yourself to be led, because you had to skip that stage. No one taught you, no one led you in the right direction, and you've got to get the best teachers. And the best teachers are not in school, right? It's not in college. It's not even in your workplace, most probably. Your best teachers are found on YouTube these days, as Robert Kiyosaki says. And you can learn from them, from the people that has the lifestyle that you desire. Because if you do that in happiness, which everyone desires, but they don't know how to get, but a few people do. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Then you lead yourself. You stay away from the women. That's phase 4. Stay away from women romantically, or else you're skipping steps. You may know for a fact that you've skipped a step if a woman leaves you behind. If a woman dumps your ass, it's your fault. It's not her fault. She's a reflection of you. So if she dumps you, you should be fired up outside your brain, because then you've been allowed to reevaluate your foundation, to reevaluate who you are right now, right? And obviously you suck because she left. And she sucks, right? Because you found her when you sucked. So you should be happy that she left you behind, most probably, because you can get someone that's probably way better. But at the same time, you don't want to be the one that leaves her behind, right? So I'm saying it's a fantastic thing if you've been dumped, because you can now go back to the correct stage where you're supposed to be. Look at your life. Look at your life. In which area do you need to focus on? There's 3 categories of life: relationships, health, and finance. I recommend that you stay away from those romantic relationships, but you can improve all the other relationships in your life. So relationships is important from the get-go, right? So people skills, that's basically it. How to win friends and influence people. It needs to be read by everyone, okay, in order to create a peaceful world. Or we'll have to rewrite another people skills book. There are people skills books out there. Not everyone is amazing, but that one is. Or Les Giblin's Skill with People. That one's also awesome. And then you've got health, and then you got financials. So with the health, you can, if you're fat, if you're overweight, or you've got some chronic health problem, okay, most of the things that people believe are chronic can actually be fixed. I'm not saying that your specific problem can be fixed, but most probably it can. If you develop masculinity and build up your testosterone, your body is designed to heal itself. If you cut something, right, it heals itself. Amazing, right? So if you've got issues in your brain, or if you've got issues emotionally, your body is designed to heal itself if you tap into masculinity, if you do the right things. Okay, so don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your confidence. Don't give up and get depressed because of some condition that you've got, or something that you've labeled yourself with. Like that's something we can overcome over time. It's probably going to take time depending upon how severe the issue is, but health is critical to fix. Because in order for you to get the best possible woman, understand that women are shallow. But you can attract shallow women into your life that will have depth, okay? Like, all women are shallow, but there are some women that manage to tap into having depth in their relationship, depending upon the man. That's what's cool. Like, you can get the best possible women that are shallow, because all women are, but who desire depth in a long-term relationship. So what I'm saying is, fix the health problem. If you're overweight, that needs to change. You cannot remain overweight for the rest of your life. And you know that. And that needs to become a priority if you are, right? Obviously, I'm not overweight, and so I feel like I have optimal health. So I need to exercise in order to just maintain the optimal health that I got. Yes, of course, I need to build muscle. I need to do this, that, and the other. But once I establish my financials the way that I desire to have my financials, I can tap into a personal trainer. Or actually, I can tap into 5 personal trainers. And, obviously, I won't need that. But do you understand what I mean? Personal development is not personal. It's a team effort. And for me to start, on nutrition and to start on my, personal training program, that's fantastic. And there are amazing apps out there, obviously. But is that a priority right now? If you're overweight, it's a priority. But if you're healthy, you're happy, and you don't have money, then maybe you should look at your priorities, right? However, you always have time for 15 to 30 minutes of exercise every single day to maintain your health, right? There's no excuse there. But the thing that requires your biggest priority right now, obviously, it's money, right? Understand the game of money. And the two things in order for you to make money and keep money and grow the money that you keep is for you to understand the game of money and understand financials and develop your value to the marketplace, develop skills and understanding of what you want to do throughout your life. That's the most important thing that you can do in your life right now. That's not necessarily enjoying the now, is it? But it's definitely exponentially going to make you enjoy the now forever, right? Because it's the foundational piece. You figure this one out, which is basically understanding how the universe works, okay? Because God has put a perfect system in place where we needed to eat and where we needed shelter. So we need resources. So God wants us to learn how to develop resources. God knows how resources work. And resources just come and flow to him continuously all of the time, which means that we've got to learn that game. We've got to learn how to get resources to continuously flow to us all of the time. And that's why I continuously talk about money on this channel, because it's the foundational piece for you to get everything in life that you desire. And you should, like, a lot of us have religious backgrounds, which makes it so that we believe that money is evil or money is bad or power is bad. There are quotes with, like, ultimately corrupts. And I think, like, that's ridiculous. God has ultimate power. Did ultimate power corrupt God? No, right? So it's ridiculous to think that way. You should think in terms of power, but power to do good, right? Keep remembering where you came from. You came from nothing. And then make sure that your kids do not inherit your money automatically, because then they won't set up their foundation. They'll just skip all of the steps and go straight for women. That's a problem, right? You don't want to go through generations of riches and then squandering of riches to poverty, right? Riches skips a generation very often, but there's actually ways of avoiding that. Did you know? And that's solvable. You can learn how to maintain the riches that you keep in your family forever, for thousands of years, or however long humankind is going to survive. They don't have to start from scratch, but you want them to start from scratch. When you're rich, you want them to you don't want to give them an easy way. As a child, you want them to have it easy, right? You don't want them to worry about anything until the age of 9 to 12. 9 to 12, you can begin to discipline your boys a little bit. At 12, that's when they start from scratch and they've got to build up their foundation. Life prioritization, guys. Give the kids childhoods. And that's what you need to be able to fix before you've got the kids. Life prioritization 101 here going on. where you basically fix the foundation for your kids so your kids never have to worry about anything and can simply be focused on fun, giggles, laughter, being with their mothers, being with their fathers, and having a blast, okay? Traveling the world, experiencing different countries, experiencing different theme parks and all that stuff. It takes money. But that's, and also homeschooling. You don't want your kids to waste away their lives sitting at a desk, listen to a government employee. Never. That's why financials comes first, or else your kids will be led by other people, or else your wife might leave you, or your women will leave you. You fix the foundation first and make everything right. This is why it's critical that you practice semen retention early so that you don't need women. How few guys actually do that? So few. They waste away their teenage years, which are the most productive years of your life. And they waste them away in school. And then when they're done with school, they're kind of done with working for the day. And then they sit and play games and watch porn the rest of the day. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if those teenagers had stepped in to develop passive income at age 12, working for free from age 12? Now, obviously, that's child labor, but who cares if it's your son? No one can do anything to your son if he works in your business when he's 12. But if you've got a job, you can't hire your son to work with you in that job. That's going to be child labor. If you've got a business, however, it's very easy to have your 12-year-old be with you. So, yeah, let's do some questions. Retention makes me aggressive. Is that natural? That's only for the first 30 days. Don't worry about the aggression. That's going to pass. You're going to be emotionally stable after the first 30 days. Kind of. You're going to flatline first, and then your flatline is going to disappear gradually, and you're going to increase in desire, but still, because your body produces perfect amounts of semen retention. Remember, I said that the body heals itself. Your body is going through a self-healing now of healing your organs that you've been draining for years. And once it's fixed the organs, now it can begin to focus on the other things in your body and making them optimal. And so over time, when you've passed 90 days, you've gone through a complete detox, you've gone maybe through 2 or 3 wet dreams, and you've learned how to control yourself. That's the most important thing. Once you learn how to control yourself, you can control your sexual desire, even though your sexual desire is quite high. And that's where you want to get to, if that makes sense. You won't be aggressive. Yeah, man, your energy somehow gets way out of your body if you don't transmute it. It's not necessarily true. That's only for the first 90 days. You don't get much wet dreams following the 90 days. Literally. Like, it will happen sometimes, but it's very rare. Like, for me, like, when I practice semen retention for a long period of time, I don't get wet dreams that much. Even when I'm married and having sex on a continual basis, I still don't get wet dreams because your body normalizes. It understands its cycle that, oh, okay, so I can just recycle this energy then. Fantastic. I don't have to explode out no matter how much I transmute it. If a man starts semen retention for 20 to 21 years old and in monogamy marriage life, if he preserves his semen libido in a smart way, to which age will he be able to have actual sex? I don't understand your question. Yeah, I don't understand your question. What do you think about COVID vaccines? I at this moment in time, I actually don't have any preference. I would lean towards more not taking it. So it'll be interesting to see how many do. How many ejaculations per year might be counted as optimum? None. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't. If possible, I wouldn't ejaculate. So if you're single, awesome. If you're married, there's gonna be mishaps, and you're gonna, sometimes it's gonna happen. Like it's bound to happen if you're in a relationship. Obviously, you can learn ejaculation control, but that hasn't been my priority because I know that in monogamy, sex kind of sucks, literally. Yeah, maybe some married men out there are having an absolute blast, but it's a very few minority, and it's the people who's actually focused on it or slept around with thousands of women and learned, how whatever. Like for me, it's not a priority when I've just got one woman to satisfy. Like if I got three women, trust me, I will tap into the necessary masters and teachers and courses in order to make that happen. But it's not a priority. Okay, it's very simple actually. I mean, I've come very, very far on the journey, but sometimes it happens and I don't have a problem with it. So let's move on. Let's see. That which matters most. No, wait. That which lasts the longest, what matters most. Okay, so we've got to figure out what is it that lasts the longest. My desire for sexual relationships, that lasts the longest. So it matters most, and that means I need to set up the foundation so that that problem is taken care of forever. If you enter into a monogamous relationship, you're going to have that problem forever. Okay, understand that. Being married does not solve your sexual need problem. It kind of makes it worse because you're having sex once in a while. When you're single, you don't have to have the ups and downs of sexual needs. When you're single, you're like happy at an 8 continuously and consistently, or maybe even a 9. It's amazing to be single. It's fun to be single and practice voluntary celibacy and semen retention and having a goal. The only time you become negative about yourself when you're single is because you don't have a goal. You haven't tapped into a goal yet. So I think that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Prioritization. What are you prioritizing in your life right now? Are you prioritizing the things that will set up the foundation once and for all and take you towards exponential growth in happiness and joy? And just some quick things on financials. What should you prioritize? Look at how the money system is in the world today. And okay, this is what I'm gonna do. There's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Amazing book, very long, very dry, very hard read, but man, once you understand the principles in that book, your life is going to improve dramatically. Okay, tap into the long-term teachers, guys, the principle-based leaders that are out there that have put books together. Amazing. Okay, this is what he says. There are 4 time quadrants. He says that the first quadrant is important and urgent. Those are basically crisis situations. Like, for example, today, there's a financial crisis going on, and that's why your money situation is important and urgent, right? You got to take care of that now. If you're poor, if you don't have money saved up, you need to make sure that you fix that problem. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that eventually. The second aspect is the most important quadrant. Like, you think that the urgent important is the most important. Yeah, but not necessarily, because you're continuously in survival mode. You're continuously in, fix, that you neglect all the other aspects of life. If you enter into the second quadrant, which is non-urgent, but important, then you're able, like, the goal is to make that quadrant the biggest and the one that you invest 95% of your time on, because over time you will have no issues, no problems. You'll always be early and on time for meetings, for deadlines, for your romantic relationships. You'll have everything under control and things will just flow. That's where you want to get to, that quadrant of non-urgent, important. That's where you want to get to. And then you've got the other 2 quadrants, which you shouldn't spend any time at all, hopefully, which is urgent, non-important. That's a horrible quadrant to be in. And you've got to decide what is important and what is not. If it's non-important and urgent, you got to get rid of it. Let it be neglected. Like, that very often sometimes is a lot of time with family. A lot of guys are spending way too much time with their families that are negative, that are, beat them up emotionally and all that stuff. You should spend less time with them if that is an issue that beats up your self-talk, because it's important in your eyes, but it's non-urgent. You don't have to be there all of the time. So limiting your time sometimes in certain areas is critical in order for you to spend more time in the other quadrants. And then you've got the worst one, which is non-important, non-urgent, and that is basically gaming and other stuff that is basically excessive. And anything that's more than an hour a day, unless that's your job, that's like you're building a YouTube business with gaming channel, like okay, fine, then you can do that. But if you're not, and if you have a business or you need to establish another type of business, then gaming more than that per day is ridiculous, right? So going, okay, actually in the next live stream, I'm going to tackle basically what's going on right now, what I recommend people to do financially, and what they should set up long now than ever before to set up your financial foundation once and for all, guys. Let's be part of this Men of High Value movement and develop and move on to make things happen in our lives. And eventually you will live the life that you dream of. But remember, it's all about getting on the path of mastery. Once you're on the path of mastery, you're already a master. Once you step on the path of Men of High Value movement, you're already a man of high value. Start the process, semen retention, living voluntary celibate, right? And then building your financial foundation, learning how to lead yourself by allowing yourself to be led. And then eventually, within a few months or maybe a couple of years, you'll be able to lead others. And once you're leading others and you do that successfully and retain them and built up your financial foundation to a certain level, that's when we start the 3 Girls in Love process and understanding how to attract women and then how to retain them. And then after a few years of having retained those 3 girls, then we can start the kids. And then you'll have the exponential growth of joy and happiness, of financials, and everything else that you could ever desire. This is the Men of High Value movement. My name is Joseph Darling, and I'll just do the questions real quick and then I'll hang up. Let's see. What happens when your semen retention benefits don't seem to get bigger? What do you do? Well, that's because you're not pushing yourself in your life. If that happens to you, your semen retention benefits, it's because you're not pushing yourself in your masculine ways, basically doing a lot more than you can handle. Maybe not a lot more, but going beyond your capacity of comfortability, both at the gym. Maybe you don't have a personal trainer. Maybe you don't have someone that pushes you mentally continuously. Because you're practicing semen retention, you'll have more capacity to heal faster when you break yourself, when you fail. So do you understand what I mean? Like if you're at the gym, it hurts for you to recover after a workout. But if you're on semen retention and you've got the right nutrition, you can actually push yourself a little bit harder than what others can because your body will heal faster. So that's basically if you're not experiencing semen retention benefits after having been on it for a long time, it's because you're not pushing yourself to the limit that you should be pushing yourselves to, if that makes sense. Off topic, to which age manhood might grow? What do you mean by manhood? You mean being a man? And if that's the case, then it's possible for you to remain a child throughout your entire life. And so, yeah, I mean, your manhood, you becoming a man should start at the age 12. And that starts basically with taking responsibility and being disciplined in your life. If you're doing that, you're developing yourself into a man. How long should a man hold on to his virginity? As in my opinion, until 3 Girls in Love. So until 100K, $100,000 in net worth. That's my opinion. You can be virgin as long as you want, man. I was a virgin until 23. If I had known what I know today, I would have been a virgin until I found my 3 girls, meaning it would have maybe taken until I was 28 or 27. Who cares? Like, how long would it take for me to develop 100K? The thing is that you need to use that as a motivation. Like say to yourself, I'm a virgin. Fantastic. I'm going to be a virgin until I've hit 100K in net worth. Don't you think that's going to create a fire within you more than anything else on planet Earth? Like, use that fire, use that sexual drive in order to accomplish your purposes. If you're having sex before that, you're rewarding yourself too early. Ma'am, I wish I saw your channel earlier. I met the perfect woman at my worst. I had no game plan. Are you still with her? What's up with that? What's everyone's opinion on my question? I gave it to you. Let's see. Until 25. 25, 27 may be the best age to lose virginity, in my opinion. No, I don't agree with that at all. It's like, did you set up your financial foundation? Did you develop 100K in US dollars in net worth? Then no. Before that, I mean, starting from 20 until 25, 26, you should be economically and socially building yourself up. However, it doesn't, like, my son or my sons, they're going to be at 100K net worth that they've built up personally at the age of 18. There's no point of reason why they shouldn't have arrived at that point, since they've got this foundational learning from their father. Like, and if they are homeschooled and they start building their businesses from age 12, it doesn't take 6 years to develop 100K in net worth. It's going to take less, but, you know, give them time because they're kids, right? But if you're 18 years old, why should it take more than 5 years for you to develop 100K? Like, it's literally taken, you know, we're almost there with Luaista, who I've been coaching, and he's just been coached by me for 10 months, right? So you know, understand. We'll talk about Bitcoin in the next stream. How many children should a man have if he has an economical condition, say like a king? I would say 3 children per woman. That would be logical for me. Like, I don't see any reason why you should have more than 1 child per 8 years per woman. If you're living in 3 Girls in Love, if you have more than 3 kids per woman, you will burden them. They will be burdened. Now, I don't know if women will have exponential capacity in 3 Girls in Love, because they have a synergy with each other that creates harmony and that creates the help of each other, etc., etc. In monogamy, it sucks to have children because the woman can't handle it, which means that you have to step into the feminine role, which makes you more feminine, which makes you more depressed, which makes you more emotionally unstable and going according to her reproductive cycle. It sucks. So that's why I think it's horrific for men out there to have more than 3 kids with a woman, because it's going to make her masculine. It's going to make you feminine, and it's going to create a lot of issues. But if 3 Girls in Love, who knows? Maybe women will have capacity to have 4 kids each. But in my opinion, 3 kids is absolutely enough. And that means you'll pretty much have either, you know, 6 or 9 or 12 kids. That's sufficient for me, in my opinion. No, not as many babies as possible. I completely disagree with you on that one, Daniel. Let's see. We need to teach boys to become financially developed ASAP. Absolutely. This is my first time here. Do you think the reason why I'm saying that thing about babies, and no offense, Daniel, of course, man, but what I'm saying is, you don't want to burden women. If you're burdening women, then they're not going to have to be for you, and they're not going to be able to fulfill all of your dreams if they've got too many kids. So you've got to go according to women's emotional conditions and women's emotional needs and meeting them. This is my first time here. Do you think semen retention will help you achieve peacefulness in life faster? Absolutely, bro. Like, that is the path to peace, is semen retention. That's why Buddhists experience all of their benefits from doing that. So, you know, within 30 to 90 days, that's when the peace begins. But get past 90 days to semen retention, and you'll pretty much be healed during that time. Let's see. I recommend normal delivery, because but we can talk about that another time. All right, this is the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph.ONTRACC. I see you in the next stream.